and welcome. Danette here. Today we're going to explore some fun life lessons hidden inside our favorite holiday movies. I was watching a cute little movie the other day, and in it, the main character had a big decision to make, and he asked for a sign. And I got so excited, and it made me wonder how many of our other favorite movies have these hidden messages in them. And so today we're going to explore several of our family's most beloved holiday movies. We're going to look at Home Alone, Turbo Man, which is actually called Jingle All the Way, Christmas Vacation, and Elf. These movies often portray some of the crazy antics that happen during the holidays, and every one of them has something that's relatable. And so let's take a fun look today at some of these favorite holiday classics. The little movie I watched the other day was so cute. The main character was going to propose to his girlfriend on Christmas morning, and all kinds of shenanigans ensued. And he was really debating maybe this wasn't meant to be, maybe this wasn't a good idea. And he was talking to the girlfriend's sister. And he said, I'm going to ask for a sign. And I got so excited. I was jumping up and down. I was like, yay, he's doing the right thing. That's the way to find out what you should do is ask for a sign. And I was so curious, what would the movie say about him asking for a sign? In the next scene, he walks into the house and he gets the first sign, which is yes, he should propose. He gets the second sign and he gets a third sign. So, in the space of this very short period of time, he got 3 signs saying that yes, it would be a good idea to propose. And his girlfriend's sister, who he's having this conversation with, says, yeah, but it doesn't work that way. And I got so frustrated. I said, "Yes, it does work this way." I was yelling at the TV like my husband sometimes does when he's watching sports and he's telling him, "No, don't make that play." Did the same thing. I was like, "No, it does work this way." In the meantime, we see that the girlfriend had found the ring and she was wanting him to ask her. She was gonna say yes. But because he had doubts, because his girlfriend's sister said no, he decided against it. And he went against the internal guidance. And of course, everything blows up and it creates this, of course, all of the conflict in the story. They definitely work it out in the end. But I thought it was such a cool example of how it works when we ask for a sign and instantaneously, he got the signs. And yes, he got 3 signs. And sometimes when we're looking for signs, we want to see multiple signs. Sometimes we don't trust the first sign we're given, so we want to see it 2, 3, 4 times, like we've talked about in the past. And he was so cute in that he recognized the signs, but he also had the doubts. And he did the other thing that is really common is he was asking his girlfriend's sister, what did she think he should do in his situation? Well, he didn't know his girlfriend's sister very well. She had just announced she was getting divorced from her husband. So she answered from the perspective of her own life experiences. And that's also really common. If you ask me a question, if you say, Danette, what do you think I should do in this situation? I'm going to filter it against my own life experience. And then I'm going to come back and say, this is what I think you should do, but it's going to be based on my own life experience. That's why I think it's so important for us to rely on our own internal guidance system, because our internal guidance system is going to help give us the answer that is in our own highest good, our own best interest. After watching that, I started to think about what are the other hidden gems in these holiday movies that we love so well. Now let's start by taking a look at the movie Home Alone. Home Alone is Isabel's favorite Christmas movie. Isabel would ask to watch Home Alone any time of the year. She doesn't care if it's Christmas or not. She really loves to watch that movie, and it's so fun to watch her laugh and giggle as all of the antics happen in the film. It starts off, as everybody knows, with a couple of families together getting ready to go on a big trip overseas. They have tons of people in the household, and everybody's got their own thing going on. And lo and behold, they get to the airport, they get on the plane, and they have forgotten Kevin. So, from the mom's perspective, isn't it easy to understand how crazy life can get? How we can get overscheduled and running around and trying to keep track of so many things that they had a system, they had everybody's tickets and they did a head count, but still kids were moving around and he got left behind. We can totally understand what it's like to be getting ready to go on a big trip and to have so many little things to do to take care of before we go. So, the message here, I think, is to slow down, make a checklist, take some time to really look at and see, do I have everything I need? We did an event not too long ago for our clients, and had to go back to the house 3 times to get things that we forgot. And luckily, we weren't running late, but what we should have done is sit down and made a list and checked it twice. It always helps when things are hectic and crazy to just slow ourselves down and take a couple of deep breaths and look around and see what we have going on. Now, from Kevin's perspective, he feels like he made his family disappear. He said when he went up to his room that night, I wish I didn't have a family. And when he woke up, lo and behold, his family is all gone. He doesn't realize they've gone on the trip. So he thinks that it's because he hasn't been behaving very well. And he goes through an interesting transformation during the film. And one of the things that's so cute is that he does a little morning routine of taking care of himself. He does his combing of his hair and brushing his teeth, and the very famous putting the aftershave on and burning his cheeks. But he does it every morning. Taking a few minutes of building self care into your routine, I think, is the cute hidden message from Kevin's perspective. The other thing that Kevin did so eloquently in the movie is he was having a conversation with the old man across the street, old man Marley. And he went into the church and they're having this conversation about the old man being afraid to call his son. He got into a fight with his son many years ago. They haven't spoken in many years, and he was afraid to call his son. And Kevin says, why don't you call him? Even if your son doesn't talk to you, at least you won't have to be afraid anymore. And he said, I think at your age, you wouldn't be afraid of anything. And how many times, this is so important, how many times have we not done something because we were afraid of a negative outcome? We were afraid that we were going to get turned down or rejected. And so we didn't even make the phone call. Especially in relationships, we can be stuck imagining what someone else might be thinking. And it turned out so well in the movie because it was such a great line to say, at least if you call, you'll know the answer and you won't have to be afraid anymore. And we watched this movie the other night and I still had tears running down my cheeks when they show the scene when the son, I'm going to get choked up saying it, when the son and his family comes over and the grandpa is holding the granddaughter in his arms. I just love that and adore that. It's so cute. Now let's talk about my husband's all-time favorite Christmas movie, and that's Jingle All the Way, better known as Turbo Man. Turbo Man is such a fun movie. The main character, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, is Howard. Howard is a hardworking father. He cares about his family. He loves his family, but he spends so much time at work that he neglects to get the special toy that his son wants for Christmas that year and all the things that ensue because this is such a popular toy. The stores are sold out everywhere, and he goes to all of these great lengths to try to find a toy. And anyone who's ever shopped last minute for a holiday gift knows what he's gone through. The lesson, I think it goes back to the fact that he prioritized his work life over his family. And when I was at the sort of height of my stress and anxiety years ago, I could very much relate to that. I feel like I definitely had times where I was working so hard that I didn't get to do some of the fun things with the family. One of the biggest things that I missed that I'm still sad about to this day was when the movie Elf came out. My husband took our sons and our nieces to see Elf, and I wasn't able to go because I had to work. Of course, we didn't know that Elf was going to turn into the iconic movie that it has. But in hindsight, I think about it now, I think, what could I have been doing at work that was so important that caused me to miss out going to the holiday movies with my kids and my nieces? Howard, the main character, goes through all of these funny experiences trying to track down the toy. And at the end, he ends up being the hero. He ends up being Turbo Man on the float in the parade. And his little son says, why do I need the doll when my dad is Turbo Man? And I think that's probably why my husband loves the movie as much as he does, because he wants to be the Turbo Man for his family. And at the end, Howard realizes that he has been prioritizing his work over his family, and now he's dedicated to spending more time, more quality time with his family. It's such a cute holiday movie. It's so much fun. We love watching it every year. The next movie I want to talk about is one of my all-time favorites, and that is Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase. It is so much fun. It starts right off the bat in the opening scene when he takes his family out to the forest and they're going to cut down this magnificent Christmas tree, and he forgot to bring anything to cut it down with. And that's how the movie goes throughout the whole thing. He has these grand ideas, these over the top ideas of things he wants to do for his family, and yet they just fall short of the mark. Things just don't go to plan as he has it in his mind. I think of it as him being like a perfectionist, and he wants to have this like perfect experience. He wants to create the twinkling lights, the house lights. He wants to create this perfectly decorated home with the most magnificent tree. And he wants to put a pool in with his bonus. And everything that Clark does in his life is for his family and dedicated for his family. And that is something that I think resonates with a lot of us. We want to do things for our family. We want to do things for our kids and, our parents and our brothers and sisters and our loved ones. And it sometimes doesn't live up to our own expectation of what we're trying to create. And then we get frustrated and we get disappointed. And I think that is the kind of hidden gem here in the movie, is that everything really does turn out okay, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be over the top. It doesn't have to be a 30-foot Christmas tree when you have 10-foot ceilings, right? It doesn't have to be the most grand gesture, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just the fact that you're showing up and putting your energy into something the way it turns out is okay, even if it's not perfect. We love that movie, and every time that we get those perfectionist tendencies in our family, like throughout the year, because this can happen at any time between me and my husband. I will call him Clark or Sparky. We use that term, sort of lovingly to remind ourselves not to take things too seriously or not to be too over the top. That is such a fun holiday classic. We absolutely love it. The last movie I wanted to talk about today is Elle with Will Ferrell. I saw an interview not too long ago. It was Will Ferrell and Jimmy Fallon, and they were talking about how iconic this movie has become. They were talking about how Elf is, and Will Ferrell jokingly said, yeah, he said, I could do anything between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I can ask anyone for anything and they'll say yes. He was just so appreciative of the love and attention that that movie has gotten. We love the movie in our household, and one of the main lessons, I think, is his optimism. He is optimistic in the face of any challenge, regardless of what is happening on his quest to meet his father. He does not get deterred, and he does everything with joy and wonderment, right? He goes into the coffee shop and it says, world's best cup of coffee. And he goes in and he's like, congratulations, right? And he takes his future girlfriend there on their first date. And she says, it tastes like a crappy cup of coffee. And she looks and she goes, it is a crappy cup of coffee. From his perspective, it's the world's greatest cup of coffee. He couldn't be happier to show off that he found the world's best cup of coffee. And it's how we look at things, right? It's how we look at the situations in our lives that determine their outcome. It's often like not the situation itself, but how we react to it, how we respond to it. And he carries this level of optimism in him no matter what. When he gets arrested, he says, I'm going to call my dad. They said you wouldn't come, but you came and I knew you would come. And that positivity and optimism is absolutely infectious. And it saves the day at the end of the movie because he has spread so much just pure joy, pure energy, pure happiness throughout everyone he's come in contact with. And they're all happy because they've known him and they've interacted with him. And he does not let anyone throw him off his game. He is who he is authentically, right? In his elf uniform, he is who he is. And even when they try to, put him in the mailroom, he turns that into an epic fun time and makes a new friend, and all the things are so much fun. And I love the idea of him not getting thrown off his game. I love the idea of not letting anyone else deter you from accomplishing your goal or achieving your quest. And he just does it with so much joy and optimism. I love, love, love every minute of that movie. The main theme that all of these movies have in common is that laughter goes a very long way towards relieving stress, towards reminding us of our problems maybe aren't quite as serious as we think. If we can laugh when things go wrong, then we're just one step closer to solving that problem. I hope you enjoy these holiday movies as much as I do. Let me know in the comments what are your favorite holiday movies. And thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next episode.